What's going on, everybody? Today I'm doing a board game tier list. So these are all of the games that I own, and I'm going to be placing them in my little tier list I have set up here. So up on the table, I'm going to put all the S's, so the best of the best. Then you've got your A, B, C, D, and then lastly all the way down here is F. So that's for the worst of them that I don't really like a whole lot. So this is pretty much my entire collection. I do have a couple that I'm not putting on here because they're either somewhere else or I just don't feel like, putting them on this tier list because I either don't play them at all or they're not mine. So these are pretty much all of mine, like I said. So let's just get started by picking one of these and just putting them in the tier list here. So sorry about the rain, it might be a little loud, but we'll see how it goes. So first we'll start with this, Sushi Go. This is a pretty decent card drafting game. It's very simple, very light. Basically just like taking sushi and, making little dinners with them. It's not too bad. It's a really good, little game. I would probably put it in C. So I'll put it there. Next, another game in a tin box is Timeline. This game is also very small, very quick, also pretty fun. You're basically trying to put certain historical events in order, and it's pretty interesting. The only downside of it is that once you've played it a couple times, if you only have one set like I do, you start to know the dates of the certain events, and it gets a little too easy. So for that, I think I'll put it in D for now. But the first couple plays were really fun. So the next game here is Plague Inc. Now, you've probably heard of the app. I had no idea they did a board game, but they did. And basically, just like the app, you take a disease and you're trying to kill everybody or kill the most amount of people. And it's not a co-op game, it's a competitive game, so there's other diseases also trying to kill the most amount of people. And I got this one for Christmas, and it's actually pretty decent. I didn't think it was going to be that great, honestly, at first, but I thought it was pretty decent for being based off an app. And I never played the app, so I'm not sure exactly how relatable it is to that, but honestly it was a pretty fun play. I'll put it in C. It was pretty decent. So next here we got Citadels. Now this is I think like the second edition or something, where it's got a bunch of all the expansions in there, the unique buildings and some more characters and stuff. So this one is also pretty fun. Basically just choosing characters and trying to build buildings and get special powers and all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty decent, pretty fun. I think I'm also going to put this one in C. So next we've got Sheriff of Nottingham. So this game, when I first got it, we played it a lot. It was pretty fun, but now I'm kind of burnt out on it. But it's fun, especially if you get into like role playing and you pretend you don't get the accents going and all that kind of stuff. It's pretty decent, basically just trying to smuggle stuff across a border. It's pretty fun, but I think for now I'm going to put it in D. And that includes here the expansion, Merry Men. The best thing about this expansion is that it adds a sixth player, which I thought was really good because, it's only plays 5 players in the base box, but, having 6 really allows it to be more of that party game that it really is. So next we've got Prohi. This game, or Prohis, I'm not sure how to say it, but this game is, it's okay. I don't really like it actually at all. I think there are games that do what this does much better. Like, it kind of has the same vibe as Sheriff of Nottingham, where you're trying to get goods across or get goods through without being caught. But it's just kind of boring, honestly. It's not that great. So I'm actually going to put this in F. I don't really like this one at all. Next, we've got Puerto Rico. So this is a pretty decent game. I actually like it a lot. I didn't buy it too long ago, maybe about a year ago. And it's a classic, that's for sure. It's a very clean game, well designed. There's lots of interesting choices to make. And it's a lot of fun, especially get the 5-player count. It's tons and tons of fun. And the one that I have came with the Nobles expansion and the building expansion. So yeah, but it's a ton of fun, especially if you get the 5 players. So I'm going to put that in B because I think it's quite good. Next, this is a big boy. I don't know if I'm going to be able to carry this for too long. So I'm just going to put it down here for now. Don't worry, I'm not putting it in F. Just want to show you what the box looks like. So Twilight Imperium 4, if people who know me, they know this is one of my favorite games of all time. This is actually my #1 game right now of all time. Let me just pick it up here. Yeah, I think you all know. This is going in S. This is just a crazy, crazy good, huge, epic space game where you take control of a faction and you're just trying to conquer the map. But you can also, there's lots of diplomacy in it. There's trade, and again, you got your battles and your conquests. So yeah, definitely S for now. Next, War of the Ring. This is also a very heavy game, so I'm going to keep it here for now. Very, 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 very thematic. It is just so good. If you like Lord of the Rings, definitely get this game. It's well worth the buy. The miniatures are incredible. There's so many of them. And it's just really good. It's really good, especially if you're, into Lord of the Rings and in that specific time. I really want to get another play of this done since I just finished watching the trilogy. So yeah, I'm actually also going to put this in S. I think it's that good. It's just so thematic. There's just so much going on in it. The map is huge. So many miniatures. Again, it's just so good. All right, so next up we have Path of Light and Shadow. So I believe that this actually was a Kickstarter game, if I'm not mistaken. And so this is a deck builder, and you're trying to build a deck, and you're trying to like conquer lands, and you can choose to be like either really cruel or merciful, and they both have their benefits. But honestly, I've played this quite a few number of times because I thought it was really fun. And the design is pretty decent. I just think after a while it sort of doesn't have a ton of replayability, and really it's mainly just deck building. And I like games that do a little bit more than just deck building. I'm kind of past that now. But I think it's still all right, so I'm going to put it in C. I think it's pretty good, and I would play it again, but I'm not always asking to play it. So next we've got Memoir 44, and this is a good game. This is really fun, really good 2-player game especially. So it's a World War II game. It's got tons of miniatures in the box. You got your infantry, artillery, tanks, all that kind of stuff, and it uses the command and color system, which is very, very well designed and very clean, and it really is also thematic in that way. Trying to portray that like fog of war where you can't always move units even if you want to. So yeah, all very, very solid 2-player game. I like it a lot. Yeah, I think I'll put this one in B. There it goes. So we got the first stack done. Now we're moving on, to the next stack. So, oh yes, this one. Pirates Cove. Now, I got this a while ago for my birthday or Christmas, I can't remember. I thought I really was into this game. I was really looking at it and researching. I thought it was going to be the best. And once it got to the table, I did not really like it at all. I kept playing it, trying to figure out this has to be good. This has to be good. But no, it's not. It's not good. And just wow, like the art is pretty cool. Like the board looks pretty neat. But basically, you simultaneously decide along with all the other players where you're going to go to all these different islands, and if you go to the same island, then you battle. But basically, if you lose the battle, you get pretty much nothing, and it sucks. And I hate being punished for choosing the same action as someone else. It's not a fun mechanic at all, and it just makes the game really annoying. Like whenever you at some point you just try to avoid all the other players, and you're you're not going to spots that are any good for you, which really sucks because then you're inhibiting yourself, but at the same time, you just don't want to go somewhere good and get into a fight with someone else, because then you basically get nothing. So I'm putting that in F. Like I do not like. I despise this game. I really do. I do not like it at all. Okay, we got next is Settlers of Catan. Now we've got a bunch of expansions for it. We have Cities and Knights, Traders and Barbarians, Seafarers, and then also Settlers of America. I'm just going to kind of all put it into one game here. So yeah, just like all that in mind with this. I think Catan is pretty decent. I've played it a lot. So I think I'm going to put it in C. I think it's pretty good, but I think, it's always time to move on from Catan and, get to other little games. So next game we've got here is Lost Cities. So this is a pretty decent two-player game. I have a lot of other two-player games coming up, and the other ones are a lot more heavy than this one, but this is good if you just want a quick little game. It's a nice little hand management card game for two. And it's pretty good. And you know what? I'm also going to put this one in C. So right now, this is what the list looks like. You got my S's up there, and then all these right here. So right now, C is the most common. So next, we've got Spyfall. Wow, do I love this game. This is... I saw this on the shelf, and I thought I'd like it because I've always heard about how good Spyfall is. Now, this is the DC version of Spyfall. I would recommend, if you have a group who's not really into DC, get the regular Spyfall. But it's not that big of a deal if you get DC Spyfall. It adds a couple things, and the locations are all, DC locations. But wow, this is a fun party game. It is so good. So many laughs with this thing. I'm putting this in S. It is just such a fun party game, and it never fails. It's just so good. The first couple plays are a little kind of like you do test plays, because it's kind of hard to understand at first until you actually play it. But once you get past that, it is just nonstop laughs. It is so much fun. So yeah, moving on, we've got Century Spice Road. This is also a pretty good game. It's pretty light. I'd put it as like an entry kind of style game. So like after you've played Catan or something, maybe give this a shot. It is pretty good. You basically have a hand of cards. It's hand management. You're trying to deliver spices and stuff like that. There isn't really, the theme here isn't really all that much. It's just, playing cubes and stuff like that. But it's got some nice components. The cards are good quality. It's got metal coins. And it's pretty good. You know what? I'm going to put it in B. I think it's pretty decent. I always like introducing this to new players, even though there's not really much of a theme. But, it's pretty good. So next up, we've got Space Base. I really, really like Space Base. It's just so much fun rolling the dice. If you like Catan, if you like rolling the dice in Catan and like hoping you get a certain number, you should definitely pick this up for sure. Basically, you're like building a fleet of ships, and on your turn, you roll dice and you try and activate the ships that you have. But on other people's turns, when they roll something, they might actually activate your ships as well, and then you get points and money to buy bigger ships, and all that kinds of stuff. So yeah, it's a really good game. I'm going to put this in A. I think it is very, very strong and a very, very good game. So we'll move on to the next tier. We got Mission Red Planet. Now this game is also super fun. It has role selection, kind of like Citadels. But what I like about this one is, unlike Citadels, there's something else going on instead of just the role selection. So you have astronauts on a board, and you are trying to basically colonize Mars and take the resources from it. It's got a cool like steampunk theme. But I just really like having the astronauts on the board. The art is really good, and you're like launching ships from Earth, and there's like a bunch of special cards you can play. So I really like this game for its role selection as well. I'm gonna put it in A. I think that's a good spot for it. Next, we've got Royals. So this is like the second dice tower essential I have, along with Sheriff of Nottingham down there. This is also a really strong game. Kind of reminds me of Ticket to Ride, because you're set collecting and trying to influence nobles all across Europe. It's very good. I really like it. Very simple. Again, sort of like an entry style game. The art in it is really nice. And yeah, it's just a really solid game. So I'm going to put this in B. All right. Next, this is a big boy. We got Blood Rage, okay? This is a pretty hefty game. Wow, this is also a really, really strong game. This is also, I think, in my top 10. And yeah, the minis in here are incredible. The design is really nice. It's got card drafting as well, and you're trying to make your specific Viking faction sort of different from everyone else over time, which is pretty cool. This is getting really heavy in my hands, so I'm going to put it down. I really like it, though, and I'm going to put it in A. Next, oh, this one's also kind of heavy. Actually, I'll do this. So I'm just kind of using this box to represent Magic, Magic the Gathering, the card game. And I like Magic a decent amount. I really only have like one person to play it with though, so I don't get to play it a whole lot, and I only play Commander. So keep that in mind when I'm, rating this. But it's really fun. I like building the decks. But the best thing I like about the game is actually playing it. The deck building is pretty fun, but I like to play it more. And yeah, it's just a pretty good design. I mean, it's weathered the storms throughout all the years it's been out, and it's still alive and doing pretty well. So I'm gonna put this in B because I think I like it a lot, but I don't get to play it a whole lot, unfortunately. All right, next we've got Spirit Island, the cooperative settler destruction strategy game. So this is a really interesting theme. Basically, you're spirits on this island, and you're trying to stop the colonial powers from settling your island, and you're like helping the natives of the island fight back. It's really fun, but it's a brain burner. It is very complicated, and there are tons of combos with the cards in this game, and it's a co-op as well. You're all working together, and sometimes I just feel like there's just so much going on, and it's so hard to make sure you're doing everything right, and you want to try and win at the same time. But wow, when you finally figure it out, you piece the puzzle together, and you're like, okay, this is how we're gonna win. That is just so much fun, and I love all the cards in this and all the abilities of the spirits. It's super cool. I'm gonna put this one in A. But keep in mind, I don't recommend that for new people at all. You have to be a very experienced gamer to, be able to play that one and understand it. It's pretty difficult. So yeah, moving on, we've got Kingsburg here. So I'm just gonna also have the expansion there, but I'm just gonna put the actual game over here. So Kingsburg, this is the first edition. I don't have the second edition, although the second edition does look pretty nice. But Kingsburg is pretty good game. Dice placement game. Whoops, upside down here. So you basically just roll your dice and you place them on all the nobles on this board, and you get resources and stuff from them. And you're trying to build buildings and defeat the monsters that come and attack every winter. It's pretty nice. It's a pretty good design. I like it. It doesn't have a ton of replayability though, even with the expansion, just because there's a limited amount of buildings that you can build and only a certain amount of strategies that you're going to play that you're going to play out. So for that, I think I'm going to put it in C. I do like it a lot, and I've played it a ton. Like, this is one of the games I probably played a lot compared to all these other ones. But I think that and the fact that it's not quite as replayable as a lot of these other games kind of detracts from it a little bit. So let's move on here. We got Telestrations. So this game is a party game. We've got the 12-player party pack here, and it's pretty good. Telestrations, I mean, very fun. It's like the combination of Telephone and Pictionary. It's a really good party game. I like other party games, like, as you can see, DC Spyfall over there. But this one is pretty decent. So you know what? I'm going to put this one in C. So I'm just going to put it on top of Kingsburg here, so you can see Kingsburg under there. But yeah, I think C is a good spot for that. So next we've got Merchants and Marauders. So I also have the expansion, and I'm going to keep that in mind. But I'm going to put the expansion down here, just because I don't want it to get too crowded. Oh, this one's heavy too, I forgot. So yeah, Merchants and Marauders, basically a pirate sandbox game where you basically choose a captain, or you get dealt a captain, and you go about the Caribbean and you do what you want. You can be a merchant or a marauder, like the game says. There's tons of different missions you can do. You can upgrade your ships to all sorts of different types of ships, like galleons, brigs, frigates, all that kind of stuff. It is so much fun, but the problem is the downtime is pretty long because other people's turns take a long time. And the expansion doesn't really help that. In fact, it makes it worse. But what's nice is the expansion is modular, so you can add certain things in that you want and not add in other stuff that you don't feel like adding in. But yeah, this is a really strong game. I'm going to put it in B. I've had a lot of fun times playing this, a lot of cool missions and stuff to do in there. And again, you can do anything you want in this game, pretty much. Anything that you think a pirate could do. So yeah, I'll put it in B. Next, we got another sandbox game. This one is Western Legends, and as you can guess, it's a Western sandbox. So basically, You are a cowboy, and you can either choose to be, here we go. You can either choose to be an outlaw or a lawman, essentially. And you go around this map, and you basically do whatever you want. You could fight bandits, rustle cattle, go play poker, buy new guns and stuff like that. And then you can also arrest people if you want to be a lawman, or you could rob the bank, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, this one's really, really good, and I think it kind of works better than Merchants and Marauders. I like the theme of Merchants and Marauders better, like pirates and merchants and stuff like that. I like more, but this Western theme it really comes through in this game, and it also kind of tackles that downtime problem a lot better because you can do stuff on other people's turn a lot more. So for that reason, I'm going to put this one in A, so just one step ahead of Merchants and Marauders. And yeah, so that is Western Legends. Next here, we've got Dead of Winter, a Crossroads game. So this is a really good game. Basically, it takes place in the zombie apocalypse, and you are trying to survive, essentially. But there might be a traitor among you, and that is a very cool concept that a lot of games, like social kind of deduction games, have done. But this one did it in a really cool like zombie theme, and you have a bunch of characters, and you're trying to fend off the zombie horde, and you're like looting other locations like the police station, gas stations, grocery stores, all that kind of stuff. So it's really fun. It's a good co-op game, and I think I'm going to put it in B. I really like it a lot. It's pretty good. All right, here comes some of the two-player games. So we've got A Few Acres of Snow. So this one's out of print, but I ended up buying this one on eBay just because I wanted it so badly. And yeah, this was definitely worth it. I love this game so much. One of my favorite two-player games. It takes place during the French and Indian War, and you can either take the French side or the British side. You play against the other player, and you recruit your regulars and your Native Americans to help go on raids, and then you try and siege the enemy's capitals like Quebec or Boston and New York. It's a really good deck builder. It's a two-player deck builder. Even though it's basically just deck building, I think it just works so well, and it's so thematic and just so much fun. I've heard it's broken, like strategically it's broken, and that the British have a certain way to win. I haven't looked into that at all, and I haven't figured it out yet, which I'm glad. So I haven't broke it yet, and you know what? I really like that because then I can keep playing it. So I'm going to put it in A. I really enjoy this one. It's a lot of fun. It's a really good, just like hour and a half long dueling game. Next up is another, like I said, two-player game. We got Twilight Struggle. This is a step above A Few Acres of Snow, I would say. Same idea though, a two-player game, and one player is going to be the capitalist United States of America, and the other will be the communist Soviet Union. And you're trying to spread influence all over the globe, and you're playing tons of cards. And all these cards are events that actually happened during this period, which was really cool. Like a bunch of history in this game. I really like it. Very well designed two-player game. So I'm also going to put this in A. I'm just going to put it kind of right on top, just to show, that it's a two-player, and kind of show that A Few Acres of Snow is under there. All right, next we've got another two-player game, and Imperial Struggle. So this was, as you can kind of tell by the name, sort of a predecessor, it was a sort of second stab at the Twilight Struggle sort of engine and design. So they decided to sort of make a sequel. Not really. It's very different from that game. But same idea of playing cards and trying to spread your influence all over the globe. Except this is between the British and the French. Oh, this is upside down. During their, basically, century of conflict. This one, I like the history a lot. This period of history really fascinates me. I'm really interested in it. However, the game is a lot more clunky than Twilight Struggle, but the problem is, or the thing that I really like about it, again, is the history, all the cards. It's a lot more complicated and more difficult than Twilight Struggle. But again, the rulebook is not very good, and it's kind of clunky in terms of pacing and all that kind of stuff. But I love it so much. I'm also going to put it in A. Despite its shortcomings, I still really, really like it a lot. So I'm going to put it there. All right, next we've got Raiders of the North Sea. Now this game is part of the trilogy by Shem Phillips, but This is the one, I only have this one. And this is a really good little worker placement game about Vikings, and you're trying to go on Viking raids and stuff like that. It's really solid. I'm going to put it in B. Okay, next. These are the expansions here, so I'll go for these. We got Age of War. This is just a little dice game. There's not a whole lot to it. Like, really just a couple of dice and some cards. It's a really good, like, 15-minute filler game. Not much to it. Just bring this if you're, on a car ride or something like that. It's really, really simple. But it's also pretty fun. It's not bad. I think I'll put it in C. I'll just stack it on top of there. Alright, another little game. We got Coup. This is pretty good, I would say. It's, again, sort of like a social deduction game where you're trying to assassinate the other players. But there's tons of bluffing in this game because you can pretend that you have a certain character in your hand when you really don't, and you're trying to do actions with him, and other people can try and call you out. A very simple game. Pretty fun. You can get a lot of laughs out of this, especially if you've been bluffing the whole game and no one calls you out on it. And this is a good, like, repeat play, so if you play it once, play it again, because then you have that overarching narrative of, like, you did this last game and whatever. It's pretty fun. I think I'm also going to put it in C. And yes, last little game for a little bit. Werewolf. This is a classic social deduction game. Basically just pure social deduction. You're given a card, and it's kind of like Mafia, if you've ever heard of that before. Similar to that, you basically as a villager, if you get dealt the villager card, you're just trying to figure out who the werewolves are around the table. And if you're the werewolf, every night you get to kill a villager. And you're just trying to stay undetected. So it's pure social deduction, and it's not bad. It's good in bigger groups for sure, but I like a lot of other social deductions more. But this one's not bad. I'll play this if people want to. So I'll put it in C. So yeah, there it goes in the C column. All right, next we've got Deception, Murder in Hong Kong, and this is one of the other social deduction games I said I like better. This is just such a good thematic social deduction game where one of you is going to be a murderer, and you might have an accomplice with you, and all the other people are the investigators trying to figure out who the murderer is and what they used to do the murder. And then you've also got the forensic scientist who is giving clues to the investigators to try and help them figure out how it was done. Really solid. Lots of laughs from this one. It's also just really fun, honestly, in general. So I'm going to put this one in A. There it is. Okay, next up is Arctic Scavengers. This is a really fun deck building game, and we'll see that it's a pretty common theme. I do like deck builders, but again, I like a little bit more than just the straight deck building. And this one added a twist where at the end of every round, you have to save cards to fight for really powerful resources at the end of the round against the other players. That was a really cool twist. However, the game kind of made itself a little bit more complicated with that, unfortunately. But I like it a lot. It doesn't get played a whole lot because not many other people do. So for that reason, I'm going to put it in C, just because it doesn't come to the table or get to the table a whole lot, unfortunately. All right. Next up is Camel Up. This is a really fun racing game where you're betting on these crazy camels who are going around a track, and you're just trying to bet on who you think is going to win. It's just pretty fun. It's just stupid fun, honestly. You get some laughs out of this one as well, just like really cheering the camel that you bet on to try and get ahead. And it's pretty fun. It's a pretty nice little game. I think I'll put this one in B. All right, next we've got Klaus Teuber's North Wind. So if you know, Klaus Teuber is the one who designed Catan down there. Not many people know about his other designs, which I've got a couple of them. And it says there right there, from the developer, the designer of Settlers of Catan. This game is pretty neat. So basically you're building these cardboard chips. Oops. And you're like actually adding like cannons to these cardboard chips if you want to upgrade your ship. That kind of stuff. It's pretty neat. But again, this game really suffers from replayability problems because you're trying to go to these 3 like port towns and trying to find certain things, but the tiles that make up the decks are like, there's like 8 of them, and so that gets really repetitive after multiple plays. And yeah, there really isn't a whole lot to this game, unfortunately, but the concept is pretty neat. But yeah, unfortunately, the replayability just really brings it down. So I'm going to put this one in D. So the next game is a pretty new game. Basically just came out not that long ago. Lost Ruins of Arnak. This game is so good. I pre-ordered this a while ago, and it finally came in not too long ago. And yeah, this game is just so beautiful. Like, that artwork is just amazing. It's a mix of deck building and worker placement, and wow, is it so much fun. Yeah, just a really solid game. Very good. It has lived up to the hype, in my opinion, and I'm gonna put it in A. I'm just gonna cover up Blood Rage there. All right, next one we've got Arkham Horror, the card game. So this one I've only played solo, which is pretty much what it's meant for. Let's be honest. It's pretty good. I like the card. The card play is pretty nice. The only thing that I don't really like about it is that I don't love solo games. It's just really not my thing. I like to play with other people, you know. So it's not really my cup of tea, but you know, the 3 scenarios that I did play was pretty fun, very thematic. It's got lots of interesting monsters in there. I love building the decks and like upgrading your deck. It's a lot of fun in this game. But overall, it was okay. It was a good experience, but I don't think I'll buy any more like expansions for it or anything. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and put that in C. All right. Okay. So the next game we've got is Shadows over Camelot. Now this is another like social deduction game, but you're also doing a lot more on the board. Very cool theme, you know, Knights of the Round Table and Camelot. Very awesome. Everyone gets to be a knight, one of the Knights at the Round Table. And you go off and do quests, like the quest for the Holy Grail, or the quest for Excalibur, or you duel the Black Knight or whatever. It's a lot of fun, and then again, one of the people in your game might be a traitor, so you have to, like, eventually you might figure out who they are, and you, like, vote them out and stuff like that. It's so much fun. It's pretty old, and I think it's out of print as well, but wow, this is also a very good game, very clean design. I'm going to put this in A. No, cover up Mission Red Planet there. So next we've got Champions of Midgard, which is super fun. So this is basically a worker placement combined with like combat dice rolling Vikingness. It's really good. Basically you send out your workers to go and collect resources or get some more warriors, and the warriors in this game are represented by dice. So you got tons of different dice. You got like your swordsmen, your spearmen, and your axemen, and they each have different faces on their dice. Like the axemen, for example, are really good at hitting and getting hits, but they don't block at all, whereas the spearmen and swordsmen actually are able to block, but they don't get as many hits. This is a really fun game. I'm probably going to get some expansions for this because I've heard they're really good. But yeah, right now I really like it, and I'm going to put it also in A. Let's put it over here, cover up space for a little bit. All right, now on to the next stack. We've got this one here, Adventure Games, Monochrome Inc. Now, I'm just going to kind of use this to talk about all the adventure games. I've played The Dungeon, I think it was called, and this one. They're actually really good. I was surprised how good these were. It's sort of like a PC adventure game where you're just sort of going around and exploring and trying to figure out the story and figure out whatever you're trying to do. Like in this game, we're trying to break in here and figure out what this company is hiding and stuff like that. They're pretty decent. I didn't think I'd actually like them that much, but yeah, they're pretty fun. So I'm going to put it in B. I think that's a good spot for it. Next, well, that's an expansion for Deception. Also, if you like Deception, get this. This is a very good expansion for the game. Alright, so we got here For Sale. This is a really fun sort of entry-level game again. There's not a ton to this game, but for what it has, it's pretty fun. Basically, you're just buying properties you're trying to buy them by bidding on them for the lowest amount, trying to get like high value properties for a low amount of money. And then in the second half of the game, you're trying to sell your property for maximum profit. And it's, despite the real estate theme, it's really simple and really fun. Just like bidding on certain buildings. Like there's a cardboard box as one of the buildings. It's kind of silly, but it's pretty fun, pretty simple. I'm actually going to put this in B. I really do like it. I think it's that good. All right, next up is Carcassonne. And this is just base Carcassonne. I don't have any other expansions or any other Carcassonne games. This is all I got. There's a reason for that. It's because I think the game's okay. I don't really love the system, the tile laying system, all that much. It's not really my style, but I don't mind it. I don't think it's bad. I'll play it every once in a while. It's upside down again. But yeah, it's really, really simple. It's a very old game as well. But a lot of people like these types of games, and I'm okay with that. It's just not really for me. So for those reasons, I'm going to put it in D. Okay, we've got the next game, Architects of the West Kingdom. Again, by Shem Phillips. So this is a separate series, other than the Raiders of the North Sea, which is down there. It's got the same artists. And yeah, the art in both of these games is pretty cool. I like it a lot. And again, it's like a worker placement game, like a medieval worker placement game rather than a Viking one. And what I like about this one is there are so many spots to go to on this board. You can get stone, wood, gold. You can go to the black market. You can build the cathedral. You can go to the prison and stuff like that. And I also like that you start with like 20 workers and that you don't have to like build up over time. You just get them all at the start. And it's really fun. You can actually go and imprison other people's workers. So if too many are gathered in one spot, you can be like, just run in there and arrest them all. It's really fun. This is a pretty good game. I'm also going to put this one in A. I really, really like Architects of the West Kingdom. All right, next we've got Queen Domino. So Queen Domino is kind of like a sequel to King Domino. So this one's got a little bit more to it than King Domino. Basically, you're just building a kingdom around with like tiles, these little domino-style tiles, and you're trying to score points. You can build some buildings. You can use your knights to tax your people to get more gold, so you can buy. I actually don't remember what you use the gold for, but anyway, use the gold to, I think, buy buildings. Anyway, it's very simple, but also really fun. I love building your little kingdom and, getting points that way, scoring points at the end of the game. It's pretty fun. I'm going to put it in B, I think. So next game here is Seven Wonders. It's a pretty fun card drafting game. There's not a whole lot to it. It's pretty good. I will say I haven't had a whole lot of success with it as an entry-level game for new people. So I would keep that in mind for myself, that it's not really good, I guess, for that, at least in my experience. But the game is pretty fun. It's very simply just card drafting. And then you're drafting more powerful cards as the ages go on, and you're trying to like build up your wonders and stuff like that, like the pyramids or the Temple of Zeus and stuff like that. So it's pretty fun. It's a pretty decent game. Nothing crazy, I would say, but I like it just okay. So I'm gonna put it in C. All right, the next game here is a pretty long game, and that is Fury of Dracula. So this is a really fun game. I like this a lot. So it's what's known as an all-verse-one game. So one player is going to play Dracula, while 4 other players, or up to 4 players, are going to be playing as the hunters, and they're trying to hunt for Dracula. Now you're hunting across this board of Europe, basically, and you're trying to find Dracula, and when you find him, you also have to kill him. And so when you go through all these different towns and stuff, you can, go to stores and buy better equipment. So you can get like silver bullets and some garlic and stuff like that to help fight Dracula. Which is also, the combat mechanics in this game are pretty good. This is overall a really fun game, although it does take a really long time. But if you're willing to put in that time, I think it's really definitely worth it. So I'm gonna put this in A. I like it quite a bit. All right, next, we've got a pretty big game as well. It's called Mansions of Madness. Now, this is the second edition of the game. So what's really cool about this one is that it's actually run by like an app. So you don't have to do really any of the bookkeeping. The app kind of does everything for you, keeps track of like health for the monsters and stuff like that, and what monsters are out there, all that kinds of stuff. It's really fun. You're just basically exploring this mansion, and there's different scenarios for it, and you're trying to like, it's like really mysterious and spooky, and you're trying to like figure out what's going on here, and then like monsters start showing up, and you have to kill them. You get items like shotguns and like knives and stuff like that. It's tons of fun, and like people can go insane, and like they get this cards that like make them do weird things. It's tons of fun. I am gonna actually put this in S. I just think it's really, really solid and a really, really fun game. So that's Mansions of Madness. All right, Mafia. Mafia de Cuba is actually what it's called. So this is kind of like a party game. I think this one is okay. Basically, you're just like passing this box around, and people are either taking a character token or they're like stealing gems from this box. And then once the box gets around the table, the person who started with it is going to be the mafia boss, and he's going to try and figure out who stole his diamonds, right? And you know what? That's okay. I just don't think the game isn't that fun. It doesn't really. It's not like funny or anything like that. It's just like you're trying to bluff and trying to lie, and just like I just think there's a lot of luck because the mafia boss is just trying to guess who took the gems. So it's not a whole lot of fun mechanically, and then also I don't think people don't really laugh when it comes to this game. But that's what I really like party games for. So I'm gonna put this one in D. I think it's okay, but I think there's a lot better party games. All right, we got the last stack here, so not many more to go. We got Jamaica. This is a really fun pirate racing game, and it's got like this really nice art, kind of like cartoony pirate art. It's tons of fun though. Basically, you're taking a ship and you're trying to go around the island of Jamaica, and you can like go the long way to get some treasure, and then if you land in the same spot as another ship, you get to fight them and stuff like that. It's pretty simple, pretty fun. The art is really good good in it. I think it's pretty good. So I'm gonna put it in B, in the B tier there. All right, moving on. Kind of talked about that one already. We'll put that there. Okay. All right, moving on. This one is really heavy. I'm gonna have to put this one down because there's just tons and tons of cards in here. Okay, all right, so Marvel Legendary. This is a really fun deck building game with the Marvel theme on it. So basically you choose 5 different heroes to go into this deck, and you're recruiting heroes from that deck. So you've got tons of different people like Captain America, Wolverine, Iron Man, Spider-Man, Hulk, and then you're trying to fight against a villain. So that could be Magneto, Loki, the Red Skull, someone like that. Now I also got the X-Men expansion for it, and it's all in here, which is why it's even more heavy than it normally would be. And yeah, this game just has so many expansions as well. It's a really solid deck builder. Tons of fun, especially if you like Marvel. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in the B tier. Whew, it's heavy. Okay. Moving on. All right, so we've got Dominion Intrigue. Now this is a base game basically, but I'm just going to sort of treat it as an expansion with Dominion, sort of the same thing. I like this one. Actually, I don't like this more than Dominion, which I'll talk about in a second. But I like just adding the cards that I do like into the regular Dominion. But yeah, Dominion as a whole, it's pretty fun, but it's literally just deck building. That's all it is. So it's kind of fallen for me. I used to play Dominion a ton in high school. I don't play it that much anymore because I've got other games that do a little bit more with deck building. So I'm going to go ahead and I think put this in C. All right, next we've got a game called Domain. Now, The cover really drew me in on this game. I had no idea what this game was about, but I just looked at the cover and I thought it looked so cool. Like the knights just looking over the city with a bunch of troops coming out of it. This is also a game by Klaus Teuber, who did Catan. But again, really not very well known game of his, but it's pretty decent. Basically, you're trying to make these certain kingdoms that you have all over the board, and you're trying to include like mines and forests in your kingdoms, so they give you points. And then once you make your kingdoms with these little border tiles, you you can expand out, and you can even attack other people's kingdoms. The combat, there isn't really combat. Basically, just if you have more troops than your opponent, then you get to invade them. Basically, again, it's decent. It's not horrible, but it's also not great. But again, it's kind of not very well known, so I think it should be a little bit more known. But I think I'm going to put it in C. I think C is a really good spot for that. Next is just regular Dominion. So, kind of talked about this already, but I like this more than Dominion Intrigue. But I'm just going to put it in the same spot, C. Again, kind of burnt out on it. Just played a lot of Dominion over the years. But again, the cover just looks pretty cool. But it kind of tricks you. There's basically no theme to this game. It's really just straight deck building. You're just getting cards and building up a deck, and you're trying to purchase land, essentially. So yeah, that's Dominion. Alright, so lastly, this is the last game I've got here. 1754 Conquest, the French and Indian War. This is one of my favorite war games, but it's so different than any other war game because it's so simple. It's card driven as well, but it actually works so that the player count is 2 to 4, which normally makes me a little bit nervous when it comes to one of these games, since usually you just kind of have to split up the one side into two, and it's not that fun. Like War of the Ring does that, for example. Don't do that. Just play 2-player. But this one, I recommend playing 4-player more than just 2-player, because what they do is they actually already split up the factions. So, for example, if you're playing as the French, on the French team, you can either be the French regulars or the French Canadians. And then on the British side, you have either the British regulars or the British colonials. And when you have each player fulfilling or part of each faction, and again, they're working together on one side against the other, and you're playing sort of like a game of Risk across the board, and you're moving troops around, and you can combine armies, all that kind of stuff. It's so much fun, and rolling dice for combat. It's so much fun trying to take points and stuff like that. It is really solid. I like it a lot. I'm going to put it in A, along with those other 2-player war games, but it's very different. And I really want to get the other games in this series. I want to get the, right now, I really hope I get the 878 Vikings game, because that's basically the same thing except with Vikings. So that's pretty much everything. So I've just got some expansions over there, but yeah, this is it. So this is the F tier. This is the garbage stuff. I really want to get rid of this, but I've tried to sell this for a really long time, but no one wants it. So if you want it, let me know. I'll basically just give it to you for next to nothing. So then this is D here. I think these games are decent. D for decent. But not really. I won't really play these unless someone really, really wants to. So yeah, that's D. Then C, I think these games are good. C is the sort of the cutoff of what I think is good. And I will sometimes ask to play these, but not often. I think they're good every once in a while. So yeah, definitely. That's what I think C is. Then, of course, we've got B. I think B are really good games. I think they're very strong. I think I will ask to play these. I think they're quite good. And, if someone asked me to play one of these, I will pretty much always be down to play it. So you got Dead of Winter down there, Raiders of the North Sea. So it's a pretty good category there. And then A, I think these are superb. I think if it's an A tier, that means I really like it, and these are the games that I play the most. Just because got space, just because they're just so much fun. Like, these are probably my favorite games up here, except for S tier, which we'll get to. But yeah, these are the ones that just didn't quite make the cut. You got Blood Rage down there into S tier, but I just like these games so much. These are the ones that I'm always looking to play, basically. All right. And then, of course, lastly, we have S tier. And S tier are the best of the best. So I'll talk about these a little bit more. Mansions of Madness, really fun, like just so much theme in this game. It's actually really good for new people as well because the app basically takes care of everything. All you have to do is just decide what action you're going to do. You're going to move, you're going to search somewhere, and that's basically it. So this is really, it's just so much fun, honestly. One of my favorite games. Spyfall over here, DC Spyfall, just a splendid party game. It's just, every time I played this, it's just so many laughs. People are just always dying of laughter in this game. It's just so good. War of the Ring, like I said, just an excellent implementation of the Lord of the Rings theme into a two-player game. It is just so cool, this game. There's so many cards in here that have so many references to the books and the movies. It's just incredible. All the miniatures in there are also very cool. And then lastly, we've got Twilight Imperium 4th edition. And you know, if a game has a 4th edition, if it's been published 4 separate times, that means it has to be good, right? But yeah, this game is just so incredible. It's just so epic. There's just so much in it. It takes all day to play. I'm not kidding. It takes like 6 to 8 hours to play this game. But there's 17 different factions that you can choose from, and all of them are super cool and have their own abilities. And the plastic ships for the miniatures are also super awesome. The production is really well done, and the mechanics are so good. There's so much trade. You just really get into this game if you play it. So yeah, that is everything, guys. So if you made it this far, thanks for watching. I know it was quite a bit, but here they are, all the games. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.